All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Rickcast here on this beautiful Thursday, the 27th of March, 2025. I apologize for starting a couple seconds late. I'm at the age where I have to worry about choking on saliva. I don't know if that's a problem for you. Let me know in the comment section down below if that's an issue. All of a sudden, when you turn like 40, you got to watch out because some days you're just like, so it sneaks up on you from any place and time. But that's not a problem because we are here. I forgot to change my board. So I guess we're going for day two of Not My Avengers. Because I still kind of feel that way. By the way, we are being throttled by X right now. I don't know what I did. I guess putting ninja swords in the title was offensive to the censor. Twitter is not a free speech platform. I think we can all address that. It is not a free speech platform in any way, shape, or form, because you should be able to say that the United Kingdom is banning ninja swords and not have your entire stream completely throttled into the ground because of it. I guess incitement to violence is something they'll try to say, but that's nonsense anyway. So if it doesn't look as packed as usual, it's because of X. So all these, and of course, all the major influencers will say, "Oh, it's such an amazing thing what Elon Musk has done for us on X and free speech." Nah, X is not a free speech platform. It is just as censorious as anybody else. The only people who are really the free speech bastions at this point, and I'm not trying to kiss up to them, is the people at Rumble, right? They won't censor streams for nonsense. It's like having ninja swords in the title. But that's what we're dealing with. So it's all right. If you made it, I appreciate it. And if you are here, do me a favor, hit that like, subscribe, share, notification bell. If you happen to find us on X, even though we're being, throttled down to the basement, do me a favor, repost it. Maybe more people will check us out if you repost the stream and let people know that we're here. I do have an interesting show tonight. It's actually going to be a lot of fun for those of you that are here and hanging out with me. So we're going to talk about how Trump is pulling Elise Stefanik. The UK is banning ninja swords. That's a real thing. I don't know why X would find that so offensive. It's a fact of life. TSA is on the chopping block. Mike Lee has been talking about the fact that TSA needs to be eliminated. And today they began the first glorious steps to do so, to getting rid of TSA, which would be an absolutely amazing thing. And by the way, big shout out to my Twitch watcher. Everybody else will come and go, but you and me, buddy, my Twitch guy, you're always going to be there, and I appreciate you. I do. All right. And then, of course, Passion of the Christ 2, which is not going to be called that, but essentially we're going to be calling it Passion 2, will be starting to film in August. That's the rumor, and it's actually starting to be mass reported out today as such. So, all right, I mean, that's great. The first one, obviously, it's a classic, Easter. I think everybody that I know watches it on Good Friday. I think it's Good Friday. It's almost required watching. You watch Good Friday. You watch The Passion on Good Friday. And then, you go into your Easter weekend. And then I got a couple other stories as well for you all here tonight on Rick Cast. Very sparsely populated Rick Cast, but that's okay. I'm not going to make a big bone of contention about it for the rest of the show because I know how annoying that gets. So let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. First story, I got a couple hot takes here for you. First one talks about the continuing deterioration of relations between these United States and the country of Canada. Not going great. Real quick. Ten Commandments is a good movie to watch. I mean, honestly, if you try to fill that weekend up with as much, those types of films as well, Ten Commandments is always something good to watch on Easter Saturday. The Holy Saturday. Yeah, there's always that's a great call, Michael. That's a very good call. A solid watching as well. Let's get to our first story back here. U.S. Canada airline bookings plummet 70% because apparently the Canadians are just having a conniption fit. We're getting to a point where the joke is just going too far, right? We kind of started it as a joke. Maybe Trump didn't start it as a joke. I don't know. It was kind of tongue in cheek. Then the Canadians got all butthurt about it and they got all upset, because they have they have no problem having their country being overrun by illegals and being run into the ground by literal communists. But if Trump says something bad, then all of a sudden the orange man said something bad, so we need to stop it. We've seen these all kinds of things like Canadians are taking things that they've already bought, like bourbon and other things, and breaking them as some kind of glorified protest. It's like you already bought it, you dumbass. You already bought the thing. What are you talking about? It's already out there. You breaking it doesn't hurt the United States, but they beat us at hockey, so at least something got where it went right for them. But outside of that, this is just petty nonsense. Cross-border passenger bookings for U.S. Canadian flights are down between 71 and 76% from last year. Airlines have removed about 320,000 ticketed U.S. Canada seats through October, impacting peak travel season. Peak travel season from July through August is seeing the largest decline in airline bookings. A 10% decline in Canadian travel could lead to $2.1 billion loss in spending, according to the U.S. Air Travel Association. Now, you have to understand, when we're looking at this story, this is a left-leaning story from Ground News. They categorize this as something that the left is reporting on, because two are left, one right, 5 in the center. So that would classify it as more of a center left story. Of course, they classify the Hill as a center outlet. So just be careful with all of that. What do I mean when I say all that? They're going to do this to fearmonger. They're going to do this to say, oh, look, Trump bad. Look how bad Trump is. Look at all the bad things Trump is doing because he's hurting the economy, because we're going to lose 2.1 billion or whatever the case may be, X amount of dollars because of this Canadian boycott. I mean, really? I guess. But they aren't reporting on the economics pain that the U.S. is inflicting on Canada because orange man bad. But you'll start to see that kind of flutter around out in the internet ether for a while, that Trump is costing the U.S. a lot of money because of the tariff war, the unnecessary tariff war that Donald Trump obviously has to get us into. All right, folks, this is Rick Cast. Actually, I don't need these headphones. I don't know why I'm wearing them. Let's see here. Let me get I don't need them tonight anyway, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the headphones. They don't look as good on me, so I'm going to take them off. I wore them every day for 3.5, 4 years. Not a big fan of headphones. But let's get to our next story of the night here. Our second hot take, our second story that we're looking at in the background. This one, not great. Not a great story, but we'll take a look at it anyway. From Reuters.com. New York official rejects Texas judgment against doctor in abortion pill case. So what we're seeing is doctors in northern states prescribing abortion pills for women in southern states where you can't murder your child. And this was one of the unintended consequences of, rightly getting rid of Roe v. Wade. But now you have to deal with these as well. And now you're doing it on a state by state basis. A local official in New York on Thursday rejected Texas's efforts to enforce a $100,000 judgment against a New York doctor accused of sending abortion pills to the state, escalating an unprecedented interstate conflict. Acting Ulster County Clerk Taylor Bruck said in a statement that he would not allow Texas Attorney General Kim Paxton to file a motion to enforce the judgment in New York court, which appeared to be the first use of New York's so-called shield law meant to protect New Yorkers from enforcement under other states' abortion bans. This is actually a case where you would need the court system to step in, not about not suing every other, or not asking for an injunction every 5 minutes because you don't like what the current president is doing. This is actually a case for courts. Once again, the problem is, even if the courts decided in Texas's favor, who is the enforcement mechanism? Who is going to enforce New York to actually have to do this? This is an absolutely, I don't want to say brilliant, but a cutting edge case in people trying to realize what federalism is again, and the fact that states' rights actually do exist. And how do you protect the citizens of your state when there is something that you can buy in another state and then can be delivered by the Federal Postal Service? I think the Trump administration may have to look into, I don't want to say banning. Maybe you guys can help me out in the comment section down below, live or in the replay. Trump can't ban abortion pills from being used through the USPS. Even if you did that, they would just use UPS or FedEx or something else. But there's got to be something they can do, because this is technically a violation of a state's right. The state of Texas has a right to enforce its own laws. And if New York is willfully violating said laws, how does the remedy come from? Where does the remedy come from if there isn't? So it's yeah. Oh, you mean you can just reclassify them? Yeah, it's a schedule, or they call them schedules or something like that. That would be pretty crazy if he classified abortion pills as like a tier 1 substance or something like that. Isn't that? I forget right now how the federal law works, but you classify them in different ways. And that's how you get your illegal substances. So that's a good call. So yeah, this is something we're gonna have to keep our eye on, because the state of Texas wants to put enforcement on the state of New York for participation in the violation of their laws. And New York is saying, no, we have these quote unquote shield laws that will prevent any harm from these doctors who are willingly subscribing drugs that are meant to kill babies. So, hey, federalism is back, I guess, only when Democrats need it to be. This is Rick Cast. I hope everybody's having a good night. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. I agree. It's a murder. It's a murder weapon. Listen, you can't ship firearms. I can't order a firearm and have it shipped to my door. I'd have to go through an FFL or something like that. So the abortion pill only has one job. I like how when people argue against firearms, it's always, well, guns only have one purpose, and that is to kill people. Well, guess what? Abortion pills only have one purpose, and that is to murder babies, to stop pregnancies. So the fact that I can't get a firearm mailed to my house, but you can get an abortion drug mailed to your house, that's something that needs to be looked at as far as classifications and the ability to mail it. So that's a great point, Michael. Michael is my MVP right now because he's like the only one that showed up and he's actually commenting. So you're my MVP tonight, Michael. You might even be my saint of the week when I go do news from the pew. All right. Anyway, let's get to our first story of the night. That's right. As soon as I'm done here, I will be moving on to hang out with Steve tonight on News from the Pew. If you like my commentary and you like Steve Cunningham, then you'll love News from the Pew. So yeah, right. Hey, patience. Patience is key. Patience is the key. All right, let's get to our first story of the night. Slow news day-ish, because this was the major trending story on ground news and everywhere else. But Trump is pulling Elise Stefanik from the UN ambassador nomination amid concerns over the Republican House majority. And this comes in light. I forgot to look this up. Pennsylvania House race. There was something happened this week. I think it was Monday or Tuesday, where there was there it is, Spotlight PA. This happened. When did this happen? March 25th, which was Tuesday. So it happened on Tuesday, and this came and went. Democrat James Malone wins PA Senate race in Trump plus 15 district. So everybody who talks about the fact that Republicans are going to be in the majority for whatever, 10, 15 years, I hope this was a wake-up call. Without Trump on the ballot, and of course, special elections are always they're always the Wild West. But this was a federal House seat that you lost, Republicans, in a plus 15 district. It's a state seat. Okay. But this reverberated to the Trump administration. So this guy was able to win by 482 votes in a district where Trump won by plus 15. So seeing that, Trump has decided that, I agree. It was a weird choice to begin with to put her there. And I don't know why anybody, you send somebody you don't like Nikki Haley to the UN. The UN is not a stepping stone. Nobody's going to go, oh, you served as the UN ambassador for 3 years. Oh, you should be president. Nobody ever thinks that. So I don't know why you would send somebody there that you like, but apparently that was the idea. But now he pulled her over the concerns among the narrow Republican House majority. And people were starting to get worried when he picked Gates and when he picked Stefanik. And I think he picked Rubio, and he was picking out from positions within the House and the Senate where the majorities were not that big. Now, of course, the thinking was, hey, it's Florida, so those should backfill pretty easily. And for the most part, they were, except losing Gates was pretty bad overall. I'm not like a huge Gates supporter, but he was one of the more solid representatives in Congress. And he would have made a hell of a district attorney. He would have made a hell of a attorney general instead of Law and Bunny Bondi, who is continuing to just be about as average as ever. But let's take a look here a little bit. The White House on Thursday pulled Representative Elise Stefanik's nomination to the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations amid concerns over slim margins in the U.S. House of Representatives, keeping one of Trump's most vocal allies in Congress. President Donald Trump declared he was withdrawing the nomination, which had already languished for months, to help preserve the House GOP's razor-thin majority. The president also said he didn't want to take a chance on Stefanik's open seat in northern New York, even though that heavily favors Republicans. Saying on Truth Social, people love Elise, and with her, we have nothing to worry about when it comes to Election Day. There are others that can do a good job at the United Nations. Therefore, Elise will stay in Congress, rejoin House leadership team, and continue to fight for our amazing American people. Now, of course, Stefanik's not stupid. She's a politician and a team player, so she's not going to fight this. And she also understands that if you do something like this for Trump, he'll remember it down the line, right? He's very loyal to those who are loyal to him. And if Stefanik is asked, listen, the House majority is too slim, you got to step down. And she says, all right, that's fine. I'll go back in there and I'll be a good soldier and I'll do what I got to do. Then we'll go on for that. You know, Michael, as I was reading the article, I was thinking about that. it's been a while that when I first read this headline this afternoon, I said, that's interesting that she still hasn't been confirmed. She should have been one of the easiest ones to get through. It's the UN. It's not a big deal. And she's a House rep. How hard would it have been? She already did her confirmation proceedings, and the fact that it was still sitting there, maybe she was just like, this has been too long. I'd rather not waste my time. Also, I guess her seat is coming up in 2026. So it comes to the fact of, listen, you got to either get me through or let me back into the House so I can run my reelection campaign for my seat. So we'll see how that goes. The decision stunned some members of the House GOP leadership, as well as members of the New York delegation, who were in deep conversations about that special election, according to multiple people familiar with the decision. Stefanik, who had previously risen to the rank of number 3 House Republican, forfeited her leadership post in order to join Trump's cabinet. And that's a significant turn for Stefanik, who had taken part in at least one cabinet meeting and had been taking part in events in her district that local media outlets had billed as a farewell tour. She was sworn into the 119th Congress. She had bare bones staffing and no major role on any House committees. But then again, that's not a huge deal because the 120th Congress is going to get sworn in what, 2028 or 2027? So she just has to hang around for a year or two. She can get staffing. I don't think that's a problem. And, she can still make her presence felt on the committees without actually being a leadership role. So I know they're making it sound like this is a big deal, but it's really not. Multiple Republicans said they were caught off guard by the decision and noted that Johnson and his leadership team have so far had little difficulty maneuvering tough votes on the floor, according to 3 people with internal discussions. In a statement, Speaker Mike Johnson thanked Stefanik for agreeing to remain in the House and vowed to create a new place for her on his leadership team. Also, think about this. Stefanik is a Trump loyalist. She is loyal to Trump. She's not loyal to Mike Johnson. So maybe Trump's having some doubts or some thoughts about Mike Johnson's role in getting things done, and he just would rather have somebody like her in the House to keep an eye on him. Who knows? I mean, the political gamesmanship people can do is very interesting. It's well known Republicans have a razor-thin House majority, and a lease agreement to withdraw our nomination allows us to keep one of the toughest, most resolute, blah, 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 Johnson says. It's not yet clear where she will fit in the House GOP leadership team. She gave a position. I'm sure she'll just, pull her back in and she'll be a good soldier. She's not stupid. She's a good politician. If she doesn't do anything for 2 years, she'll wait until the dust settles in the 2026 election, and then she'll get her spot back or go where she needs to go. And so that's kind of one of these things that you need to be able to maneuver on the fly, right? This is making up a mistake. We all can agree that it was a mistake on Trump's part to even nominate her in the first place. Why take people out of the House when there's former governors and former senators, and there's a ton of former politicians floating around these United States that you could easily nominate. Radio hosts, who cares? Nobody wants to go to the UN anyway. You could have nominated for that. So maybe he's realizing and trying to rectify the mistake on his part and just try to get her back in there. He knows she'll win re-election. This is just going to be a hiccup, and then she'll jump back into the leadership team, and she'll be essentially Trump's eyes and ears on the floor. Because really, who else besides Marjorie Taylor Greene? I wouldn't even count Lauren Boebert. She's kind of nuts. There's Paulina Luna, whatever her name is. She's a Trump, Trump has his loyal team of women. He's got Paula Luna. He's got MGT. He's got Boebert. And now he has Stefanik. Another person to keep their eye on what's going on in Congress. Doesn't hurt him from a political perspective. So it's interesting to see that even still, it's March, right? It's, these nominations were, I think she was nominated back in either November or December. And then she was the bunny squad. That's right. They're Trump's angels. They're Trump's angels. They're not Charlie's. Charlie's dead. They're Trump's. Trump's bunnies. That's what we are. Here we go. So it is strange the way these things work in politics. She didn't give up her seat, so she's more than entitled to keep it. So, all right, let her keep it. That's fine. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let us move on to our next story. I think this is the reason why our stream was suppressed, so we might as well just get into it and have some fun. The UK is a silly, silly place. From the blazemedia.com, UK Prime Minister nailed with a brutal ridicule after proudly announcing the banning of ninja swords. And that's right, folks. This is March 27th, 2025. This is not a parody. I mean, the Blaze is kind of a parody of itself. But this is not Babylon B. This is a for real headline. The ban comes after a teenager was stabbed to death from a case of mistaken identity. Of course, that's really, I mean, it's the UK. People are getting stabbed all the time. Prime Minister of the United Kingdom was brutally ridiculed on social media, deservedly so, after proudly announcing that the government will be banning ninja swords, which many people on X went, there is a rash of British ninjas, because that's just something. I know we got a black ninja now in the Ubisoft game Assassin's Creed. I didn't know we had like British ninjas. And what does a British ninja look like? There's a bunch of people who are just going, it's a little weird. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little strange that this would be something that's happening here. Let's see. Knife attacks in the UK. It's like the first thing that comes up. It's the first thing that comes up here. Let's see. Oh, you're here we go. I got graphs and everything. Let's take a look at this too before we get a little further into this. This idea that it's not even, because the British are terrible. I mean, the British, whatever, I'll accept your stupid cookies. It's stupid. They get so proud, or they always say things like, oh, you Americans, I can't believe it that you people have guns. And we're going, are you kidding me? You people are getting stabbed to death with sporks. What are you talking about? You're worried about this stuff. They're very polite and proper ninjas. Hello. Yes, I'm here to assassinate you, but would you mind if you put some tea on first? But look at this. Select offenses involving knife or sharp instrument. Let's see here. By the thousands, 38.8, 31.8. Number of selected offenses involving this between 2000. The offenses fell from 34,000 in number. Let's see. This was go over here. Up to 50. That's crazy, man. In March, ending March 2024, there were 50,000 offenses involving a sharp instrument in England and Wales. This was 4.4% higher than in 2023 and 2% lower than in 2019-2020, which just shows you that every time these pompous windbags that are the English start to try and talk down to you and me because we own firearms, it's like, you guys can't even own a steak knife. What are you talking to me about? Your UK minister is banning samurai swords. Actually, no, they're not. As Chris, the host of the Good Night Show, I think that's what it is, said that, you know, the British, of course, are going after lower class ninjas while sparing the samurai. It's classism no matter what. Prime Minister Keir Starmer posted on social media that the restrictions on owning the Japanese swords would be put in place by summer. The campaign to ban ninja swords began after 16-year-old Ronan Kanda was killed by a sword just outside of his home in 2022 in a case of mistaken identity, which is crazy because it's like, you kind of have to know somebody. You have to get kind of up close to somebody in order to stab them. I don't know if you saw the movie Serenity. off of the Firefly movie. Every time I read something like this, all I can think of is the guy's like, he killed me, Mal. He killed me with a sword. Who does that? And it's kind of the same thing. Now, critics pounced on the announcement to mock Starmer and the European instinct to ban weapons rather than allow citizens to defend themselves. Oh, did I miss this? Confirmed ninja swords will be banned by the summer when we promise we take action. Which, yes, you should have been brutally mocked for this. Let's see. Read any of the reply. Oh, I got to sign in. I forget you. Yeah. Knife crime is at an epidemic level and is ruining lives across Britain. I wonder why that is. I wonder why they're having such a problem with knife crime in Britain right now. It boggles the mind. Maybe because of a certain group of people? I don't know. Possibly. The only thing that stops a bad guy with a ninja sword is a good guy with a ninja sword, responded Jim Garrity of National Review. Ninja swords don't kill people. Ninjas do, replied Rob Henderson of the Manhattan Institute. And despite making up only 13% of the population, yellow Power Rangers are responsible for 94% of ninja sword attacks, which is a really good statistic. Carmine Sabina wrote, "This is hilarious. How much more can they disarm you in the UK until you do something? Next, Ginsu knives, then butter knives, then rolling pins. Have you looked into squirt guns? No one needs a high-powered super soaker." There's a reason why the old saying says, "Don't bring a knife to a gunfight." Still a thing. Now, of course, if you know anything about knives and gunfights, you actually realize that knives are preferable in a gunfight because of the 21-foot rule. But most people don't know that, and they just like to repeat catchy slogans. He's banning swords. Next will be Thor's hammer, then screwdrivers, then pencils. But remember, John Wick killed 3 guys in a bar with a pencil, so that might not be a bad idea. Under the new law, anyone caught with a ninja sword in the U.S. can face up to 6 months in prison, but that could be increased to 2 years under the plans in a crime bill. So, just wacky that these are the priorities. It's not just the fact that they don't have firearms. It's also the fact that Muslims are running around London and they just cut people. They'll just try to hurt people and harm people the best way they can. And it's one of these things that, yeah, you can ban everything. Muslims will, if they want to kill you, they'll kill you. They'll kill you with a car. They'll kill you with a brick. Whatever the case may be. It is sad when you watch videos of like London in the 60s and London today. I mean, are we all going to at least, come to grips with the fact that the UK is gone, that the UK is a lost cause? There's no way you can save the UK at this point. You just can't. I don't think you can, because the London is completely fallen. And then the outsides, where it is a majority British, the British aristocracy, or the ones that are equivalent to like our awfuls or affluent white female liberals, they just don't care. They just don't care about the civilization. They really don't. Now, there is the point of it. If it gets pushed too far, will there be a response? Obviously, I think there will. I'm not saying there will be, but if history is any indicator, as they like to say, if past is prologue, there will be one last gasp from the English, and not by voting, but by other means. Let's say I've already had this stream suppressed enough. I don't want to make it sound like I'm inciting violence, which I am not. But if history is to say anything, there will be a last gasp of the English people before they're swallowed up. Of course, I could be completely wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. But you can't continue on, and you can't ignore this. And of course, there's the gang attacks and all of these other things that have persisted, and that the English have just kind of taken for the last 20 years. And I just don't think they care. Look at what they did for Ramadan. You had the King of England preparing like Ramadan meals for them, and then they decorate everything and the Muslim celebrations and all this stuff. It's like they pretty much capitulated. I don't know what they can do, but at least we can make fun of them in this story. I mean, imagine that you live in England and you got to deal with that. You got to sit there and watch your prime minister, among all of these other things, take just take the one thing seriously, take ninja swords. Not all the things that are happening to the British population, but worry about ninja swords. Okay. All right, folks. Rick Cass, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Next story. Yep. This is a story close to my heart and a story that makes me very, very happy if it comes true. Because I, for one, hate the Transportation Security Administration. It has been nothing but a failure. It's kabuki theater. It doesn't make anybody safer. And it would be much, much better if you just abolished it. Senator Mike Lee of Utah is leading the way alongside with Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama. Republicans look to abolish TSA in favor of private security at airports. Now, they'll say private security this. They've actually done, and I did this, I actually wrote 2 or 3 papers on how you could fix the TSA. And one of them was, having TSA remove their employment aspect and then just give out grants to, because TSA will never go away. It's part of the Patriot Act. It won't go away, but you could reduce it to a role where it just gives out grants to airports to hire the best private security that they can have. And they had an example at San Francisco Airport. San Francisco Airport is one of the few that actually has its own private security. And if you look at the numbers, it's the fastest and it has the highest satisfaction rate among any airport in these United States. But anyway, Republican senators are debuting a measure on Thursday to abolish the Transportation Security Administration, which they say has intruded on the privacy and personal space of Americans. You don't say. Republican Mike Lee is leading the bill alongside Tommy Tuberville of Alabama. The TSA not only intruded into the privacy and personal space of most Americans, it also has repeatedly failed tests to find weapons and explosives. Our bill privatizes security functions at America's airports under the eye of the Office of Aviation Security Oversight, bringing this bureaucratic behemoth to a welcomed end. American families can travel safely without feeling the hands of an army of federal employees. And really, the TSA people, no, air marshals don't fall under TSA. I don't believe so. That's actually a good question. Air marshals fall under TSA. I don't believe so. No, well, the FAMS, the Federal Air Marshal Service, is under it, but it's within the Department of. What they can do is, because TSA is under the Department of Homeland Security, what they can do is they can shift the FAMAS program, the Federal Air Marshal Service. They can shift that to another law. You know what they could really do, crotchety, with that? That's a simple fix. You move it from TSA, and then you put it up, and then you put it under the U.S. Marshal Service, because it's a marshal. They call it the Federal Air Marshal Program. You just move it to the U.S. Marshals Department, and then you don't even change anything. It just reports to a different leadership position, and then you can get rid of TSA. So that's an easy one, dude. I have pre-check, so it's not as bad right now. But even still, I got to take the nudie rate, the nudie machine, the scanner, the one that does that. That it gives them a readout of the human form, we'll say. And I always tell them to enjoy the show when they give me one of those. But yeah, the TSA has been an abject failure in every way, shape, or form. It gives the appearance of doing something, but it doesn't. The measure would officially abolish the TSA 3 years after being enacted into law, which means senators would provide timelines for security needs to be privatized. The bill also directs Secretary of Homeland Security and Transportation to make reorganization plan and submit it to Congress. In his own statement, Tuberville said the TSA is an inefficient, bureaucratic mess that infringes on America's freedoms, which is correct. It's a bloated agency riddled with waste, fraud, and abuse of taxpayer dollars that has led to unnecessary delays, invasive pat-downs, and bag checks, and frustration for travelers. We need to focus on more efficient and effective methods to protect our country, quote unquote, without sacrificing the liberties and freedoms of American citizens. And they went on, they go on, they go on. And so the bill would additionally create the Office of Aviation Security Oversight, which would work under the Federal Aviation Administration. The new office would oversee the privatization of security screenings at airports. And I have absolutely no problem with this. This is something that should pass, and it should pass without any problem, because TSA, nobody likes TSA. Liberals don't even like TSA. So this should just be an easy win for them. But we'll see. I am all for it. I am all for it because the TSA is trash. And no offense, there's some nice people that work there. You always have to give that caveat. But at the same time, most of the people that work there are disgruntled federal employees or guys or gals who couldn't be cops, and that's the closest they get to any kind of authority. And that's why they push people around, which I can't stand. Like, they push you around at the airport and you're trying to get through and all this stuff. I just hate it. I don't like it. I don't. They're not good people. All right, last story of the night, ladies and gentlemen, from CatholicHerald.com. Mel Gibson's sequel to Passion to start filming in August after a 20-year wait. Jim Caviezel will return. Mel Gibson's sequel to his hit movie Passion of the Christ is set to begin production in Italy this August. The new film, The Resurrection of the Christ, has been 20 years in the waiting. Passion of the Christ was released in 2004 and garnered $370 million domestically, becoming both acclaimed and controversial for its graphic portrayal of the Passion. Many credit it as a movie that opened the door to faith-based films and media productions taking off in Hollywood. And as I was saying in the beginning of the show, before anybody showed up, it's pretty much Good Friday viewing in the Barrett household. It's the way we start off the Good Friday to Easter Sunday because, you know, it's almost required at this point. And it's crazy. The deeper you get into Catholicism, the more every year I pick up something different. You can let me know if you pick up something different, but I notice every single year that I pick up a different aspect in the Passion when I watch it. So I look forward to watching it every year. The news of the start date for The Resurrection of the Christ came out of Manuel Cinemanani, CEO of Rome's Centinela Studios, reports Catholic News Agency. Quote, I can confirm that the next film, directed by Mel Gibson, produced by Icon Pictures, The Resurrection of the Christ, will be shot entirely in Cinetia starting in August and requires many theaters and stage constructions. Gibson previously discussed the film in an interview with legendary podcaster Joe Rogan, saying the film is very ambitious and that the story follows the fall of the angels to the death of the last apostle. So we're talking about John all the way, because John dies of old age. So that's, is he saying that he's going to go from the fall of the angels to the death of the 12 apostles? Does that include the boiling of John and that one not working? I don't know. That's interesting. Quote, I think in order to really tell the story properly, you have to really start with the fall of the angels, which means you're in another place. You're in another realm. You need to go to hell. You need to go to Sheol, he explains. It's about finding the way that's not cheesy or too obvious. I think I have ideas about how to do that and how to invoke things and emotions in people from the way you depict it and the way you shoot it. I've been thinking about it for a long time. Gibson, who was raised as a Sedevacantist traditional Catholic. Nice way to get that one in there. It's also interesting because there's a lot of pressure because The Passion is such a revered film to get this, I guess, right, to make this, to stick the landing, to land the plane. So yeah, well, one would argue that their messed up endings helped contribute to the spread of Catholicism because people realized that they were willing to die for it. I've been to Rome twice. Hopefully I can get there one more time. I'd like to go back one more time before it's all said and done. And when you're walking in places like when you go to St. Lawrence's Cathedral and you're in front of the grave of St. Lawrence, and then you go to St. Peter's Square, and there's the little, in all of Grand St. Peter's Square, there's this little spot. There's the obelisk, and then there's a little circle right on the other side, and people walk over it all the time, and they don't even realize that's where St. Peter got his head cut off. And you just, there's one place my wife and I want to go next time we get to go to Rome. I don't know when that will be. But it's in Treveste, and it's on the hill on top of Treveste. And that's where there's a little chapel where St. Peter was running. He was leaving Rome because the emperor had called for his head. And that's where he saw our Lord and Savior carrying the cross going back. And St. Peter goes, "What are you doing, our Lord and Savior?" And our Lord and Savior looks at him and says, "I'm going back to be crucified again," pretty much telling Peter, because you're running, I have to go back. And that's when Peter turned around facing certain death. And that's when he was actually killed. But all of that stuff is, I agree that I don't know if you need to see it, but it is instrumental to this, to the actual cementing of the faith. So, yeah, it's belief. It's belief, man. We talk, and that's why, I don't know about you. My Lent's been difficult, which is fine. It's supposed to be, but even I guess that's why some of us get mad at our fellow Catholics, not because we hate them, but when we're like, "What are you giving up?" They're like, "I'm giving up Snickers bars for Lent." It's like, come on, man, can it be a little bit tougher? And then I always get mad when St. Patrick's Day falls on a Friday and everybody bitches and moans about getting a dispensation so they can have, corned beef and cabbage. It's like, you can't give it up for one day, you fat idiot. Like, we have it so comfortable here, and we are so disconnected as Catholic Americans. We're so disconnected from the trials and tribulations that, our brothers and sisters in Christ in the past have had to go through. Well, if you'd like, I can start your cause for canonization now, Brian. I can write the Vatican and see if we can get that started, because that's pretty impressive. John got boiled in oil, but that's nothing compared to giving up Snickers, brother. The patron saint of candy bars. Gibson, since his days as a Hollywood star actor in the likes of the Lethal Weapon series of films, has become somewhat of a Hollywood outsider due to courting controversy through the likes of making anti-Semitic comments during a Duncan tirade, while more soberly pushing his Catholic faith into the mainstream as a director, which has arguably been proved to be probably more controversial. Quote, "I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It's going to require a lot of planning, and I'm not wholly sure I can pull it off. To tell you the truth, it's super ambitious, but I'll take a crack at it because that's what you got to do, right? Walk up to the plate." I give him credit for trying. You got to give him credit. Even if he fails, at least he's trying to put it out there. So that's the, yeah, I get it. Listen, you're only human. I understand. So you got to give Gibson credit, even if he falls short. At least he's going to give it his best effort. And if you believe in spiritual warfare like I do, Gibson has suffered greatly for making The Passion, right? He lost his marriage, he lost his credibility in Hollywood, he lost everything for a while, and all of that was a result of making The Passion, the spiritual warfare that was unleashed upon him. And will he be able to get through it? Get through the making of this one. If from a Catholic standpoint, it's going to be very interesting to watch. Gibson also shared his plans to recast Jim Caviezel, who garnered huge plaudits for his portrayal of Jesus in the original film, though noting the film crew will have to use, quote unquote, a few techniques on Caviezel, such as CEI de-aging, due to the fact that more than 2 decades have passed since the first movie was released. So we'll see what happens there. And pray for Gibson and for everybody in the cast of that film, because it's, like I said, if you believe in spiritual warfare, it's going to be under constant attack. That's still a bone of contention, you would say. Oh well. All right, folks, that's it for this episode of Rickcast. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. Not as many people as we would like. We want this show to get as many people involved, because we like the message and like what we do. But I thank all 37 of you. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, retweet it, repost it, so we can try to get more people in. Thursdays are also tough nights because everybody streams on Thursday nights, including News from the Pew, which will come up in about 30 minutes on the News from the Pew channel. Myself and Steve Cunningham. I will change this sign, and it's going to be a very Steve Cunningham specific sign when News from the Pew starts in about 30 minutes. And so I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Thank you so much for being here. I will talk to you all tomorrow on Friday, where we will close out the week. God bless. And until that day comes, free Dexter Taylor.